Ignite, sparked by BBB, where conversations are taking place to change the future.
Welcome back to BBB Sharing. I'm Evie, Director of Ignite, sparked by BBB. We are once again here in the Ignite podcast studio with some very special guests, Linda, Eddie, Eric from Holo. How are you all today?
Doing great. How about yourself?
Wonderful.
I'm great.
So I want to go ahead and kick off with can you tell me your background story? Barry was very interested in what you do. He's like, you got to meet these people. And I said, I already did. He's like, no, you really got to meet these people. And I said, okay, well, I'm doing a podcast with you guys. So tell me what you do.
So I'll go first. I'm Linda Heath. I'm the founder and CEO of Holo, with a background in commercial banking and also owning a couple of businesses. And I have a passion for seeing more small businesses be successful, based on what I know. And through the years, I've watched the commercial banking model change. It's not really in their favor. And so we decided to go to work and fix that.
That's wonderful. So, I looked at your website a little bit and I checked out that you guys do work with small and mid-sized businesses, which is really great. And for the people that are listening, what would you consider to be a small to mid-sized business and somebody that you would work with?
Starting revenue, they've broken the $1 million mark, which is a big milestone, up to 25 million, 30 million. Eric and I have looked at companies a lot larger than that in our careers.
Wonderful. You guys?
So I'm Eric Benson. I'm the Chief Operating Officer, and I'm a career banker. I have about 26 years in the banking industry. I held a lot of different roles, and I joined Holo because I've seen both the up cycles and the down cycles, and have witnessed firsthand how that impacts small businesses and owners. And SBA statistics report a high failure rate. So being an owner of a small business is not for the faint of heart. Speaking as a former banker and now at Holo, it doesn't have to be that way.
So I'll give you guys a little background. My dad has been a small business owner in Harrisonburg, Virginia for over 30 years. And it is difficult. And commercial banking does not favor them more often than not. And a lot of times the frustration does come from, well, I have assets. So they should be able to use my assets to allow me to get a loan to grow my business. It took them 12 months to approve a loan for my parents to renovate our existing restaurant. Yes, the silence says it all. The silence says it all. And that's just because I understand what you're saying. I'm fully aware of the back end of what happens with those things. So I think it's wonderful to be able to really focus on that niche of small to mid-sized businesses and helping them be able to do better in their financials and grow, because we want them to grow. We want them to do better. They're such a huge part of the economy here.
I'd be willing to bet that if you talk to many business owners, that they would give you a similar type of anecdote. Those experiences are a lot of what I think brought us to the table here. Is we saw the other side of the table as bankers, and so we know how they think, the way they're going to look at things, and we can provide a lot of that support, that perspective. So when a business owner goes in to seek financing or to interact with their banker, they have a better idea of how to interact with them. We can give them the tools to get what they need out of their relationships.
Wonderful. So one of the things that I did want to touch base on, and this is a question that you guys provided for me, which thank you, by the way, because a lot of times I don't know what I'm walking into when I come here. So do you have specific examples that you could share with everybody listening? Something that you might be dealing with on the day-to-day or with a specific business? What are some examples of those?
Well, we picked out a couple of examples that are from the past. We're rebranding and relaunching as a cloud-based CFO, Chief Financial Officer Service. And typically that's very expensive for the types of businesses we're all talking about. And they don't know what they're going to get, and they're going to pay $250 an hour, and it's very stressful. So we're creating tools and things to say, this is what you're going to get. And so I'll start with one. This was let me see. I am looking at notes, and you know what? We're just real people, so I hope your audience appreciates.
That's why I said, I really appreciate you guys giving me the questions, because sometimes I really don't know what to ask.
Oh yeah. So one of the questions This is one, okay, so this does involve lending. That's not all we do, but I was referred to a retail business. He wanted to buy a competitor. He had been turned down by his bank for that. I looked that he wanted to know if I could help, and I looked at the financials. And I said, this should work. There should be a way to make this work. So they engaged us to do the business plan, the loan package, and actually go into the negotiation with them. And I
So
had
like
been
sitting down during the business deal.
yes,
Okay.
yes. I listened to what this bank is asking and help them answer appropriately. And the secret sauce in how we did get the loan for them. First of all, I had been a contractor, and in contracting, you bid.
Right.
So we brought 4 banks in and we said, we're going to tell you all the same thing. You can ask your questions. We're going to share the questions. We're going to share the answers. You're getting the same package. So they couldn't give him the runaround. And 3 banks gave him a term sheet. One of them, the best one, came from the bank that had turned him down.
Really?
Before us. Yes, it did. Because now they understood. And our secret sauce in that one is we have access to industry data and ratios for every industry. It's not a secret, but it's very expensive for a business owner. They wouldn't know where to go and they wouldn't want to pay for it. And we just showed the bank that here's how the business is doing now compared to the industry. And after they put it together and accrue some savings, here's how they're going to compare to their industry. And it's kind of like, okay, that makes sense. And I don't know why their credit analysts and the loan officers didn't come up with that on their own. But that's the life we live.
Right.
And they actually, the merger created 80,000 of savings for them. So we paid for ourselves many times over.
See, with the personal experience that we had with our family businesses, my father, after the 12 months, he finally, because they had been banking with this bank, and I'm not gonna name names, but they had been banking with this particular bank in Harrisonburg for over 30 years. Like when my dad first started his first business, they started off with that bank, and even when it transitioned names and everything. And he said, you know that you can trust me. I've been a business owner here for my assets are well worth more than what I'm asking to renovate my business. And they were like, yeah, but there are some like loopholes we have to go through. We have to go through so many hoops and stuff like that. And he said, well, in that case, don't worry about it. I've got family I'll ask money for. And it's unfortunate that that is the case, because what a lot of small businesses don't understand is there's good debt that you do want to have because it helps you grow your business in the future. And so that bank is really doing them a disservice in that aspect. So if a small business or a mid-sized business is looking for what you guys do, what is the first telltale sign in that?
Eric, you can second me on this, but let me just say, through the years, I've been asked, how are we doing?
Right.
What does the bank think of us? And we're doing well. We can tell we're doing well. We're growing. Why is cash flow still tight?
Yeah.
That is a killer. And we know the answer to that. And we can help them work that out. But yes, you can actually go broke while making a profit.
Yeah, actually you can. And I've seen it happen. We work at the BBB, so we've seen it happen time and time again. And it's unfortunate because they're like, well, I don't know who to provide. And what we do here is we can't have favorites, but we can always give our top 3 recommendations. And they give you guys a call and they do business with you guys. We always recommend accredited businesses to our other businesses that come to us for help, because you guys are the cream of the crop. You're the best of the best out there. You're accredited. So we know that you uphold those values of honesty, integrity, and trust, which no other business does. Except the BBB.
Do you want to in her question?
Well, just a brief add-in that banks put a lot of emphasis on financial statements and the manner in which they're compiled and presented. So when we talk about GAAP, that's an accounting term that bankers love to see financial reporting in. Small business owners don't know a lot about GAAP. They don't, they're focused on the day-to-day operation of their business, selling their widgets, producing,
being in it.
They've got 100 other different things to deal with. And so financials may not always take priority. And that's where I think, there's a gap between the owner and the banker. And that's something that we can, I think, help fill that gap.
I think oftentimes there's a language barrier and a frustration because they themselves don't understand their financials and they don't understand what banks are asking for. And they say, well, I gave you everything you asked for. Like, you didn't really.
Well, and here's the key. They're relying on their bookkeepers.
Right.
They don't know accounting well enough to know how to manage a bookkeeper and what to ask for. The bookkeepers get their jobs based on, I know a brand name online software, right?
Right.
I know how to do this. But the business owners never say, well, tell me how much accounting you've studied. Do you understand GAAP? Do you understand we're booking our cost of goods sold in the right place, that kind of thing. So they don't know that. And then, but they expect their bookkeepers to be able to explain it to them, and they're not trained. That's not their job. And then they expect their CPAs who do their taxes to explain it to them. That's a compliance activity. That is not a financial
You're
analysis
right.
activity.
A lot of businesses do not know what questions to ask their accountants. What are some other questions you would suggest they do ask them? Because with accounting, I always tell people get a second, third, maybe even fourth opinion on
Right.
stuff. So what would be some questions they should be asking?
So I would love to save that for another podcast because it's pretty detailed.
Is it? Yeah.
It is. It's very detailed and it's customized. But what we're doing to solve that is when clients come to work with us, we have built in some training for their bookkeeper, and we're going to educate them. When those business owners sign a loan agreement, somewhere buried in an inch stack or more of paper that they don't read through they are making a covenant that they will provide financial reporting to the bank in a form acceptable to the bank. And nobody on their side of the table knows what that means. And so that's what we're doing, is building in some training for the bookkeeper, the staff.
And I wanted to say that's exactly why I joined FinHolo. I'm Eddie or Edward. I'm the marketing specialist here. Yeah, I know. I've been quiet a little bit, but I've been hoping to jump in. But that's exactly why I want to join. Everything they've been explaining. I resonate with small to medium-sized business owners, and I know how hectic it is on a day-to-day basis. And they have all those issues on a day-to-day basis, but they also have the financial issues that they really don't know about sometimes. And I met Linda and I met Eric, and I really thought it really resonated for who I am, about me wanting to help people in this small to medium-sized business owners.
That's funny. That's how I met Barry. I met Barry just visiting my grandmother one day and got to talking to him. And he said, oh, I think you'd be great for this role. And I said, I don't think so, but I'll take your word for it. And he hasn't been wrong. So, but I don't admit that to him. So is it safe to say that, with your expertise, it usually pays off for itself over time? Because you mentioned that for small to mid-sized businesses, it can seem like a hefty price, but can you say that for them, it's worth the long-term investment for their businesses?
It is. When I go back through the different projects that we've done, in every case, there was some significant financial savings or financial gain that more than exceeded what the cost to the owner was. And so we're trying to make it accessible by creating a subscription. So you pay monthly, you get the value you need, you get stability, you get the strategic long view, and there's an onboarding fee upfront just to do that extra training with the bookkeeper.
I think that's wonderful. From my experience with the restaurants, because we have restaurants, I think that the subscription base is the best option to go, because they can tell with your guys' help each month how everything's getting better over time. Whereas when you just kind of pay somebody and they're kind of doing things on the back end, like an accountant, it's hard for you to keep track of what they're doing all the time. So I think that's wonderful. And of course, last but not least, where can people find you and how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'll take the lead on this one. It's actually really simple. So if you guys are curious about anything, you could book a free discovery call. You only have to go to our website, finholo.com, and you just click book a discovery call. It's a quick 20-30 minute chat. We'll go through your business. We'll see where you're at right now, where you want to be, and anything that's holding you back from that. Along with that, we'll ask you your top 5 business intelligence desires. And then along with that, we'll go over the 50% missing financial statements and why you need to know that. And then we'll show you a sample file marker scorecard, which is curated by our financial metrics. That really gives you a big deal to how you analyze either your business opportunities or threats. And I think the best thing about booking a discovery call with us is what we have to offer with it. It's a really, really good thing where we personally pull out an industry report for you guys for your business. It's not a generic PDF where you could search up online and find one. It's really a benchmark stand work to see how you size and how you sample with other people within your industry. It has things like pricing, margins, and growth metrics, and it's a really good way to just get valuable insight. Again, this is from the discovery call, the free discovery call. You get this, and even if you don't end up working with us, you still get that valuable insight. And again, if you're curious, visit our website, finholo.com.
Perfect. And of course, you can find them on bbb.org as well. They have a business profile there. If you are listening on YouTube and you're watching us, please make sure to like, share, subscribe at BBB Central VA, and make sure to comment down below. It really helps the algorithm out. And if you're listening on Spotify, please make sure to follow us and share it out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for having us.
Of course.
Ignite, sparked by BBB, where conversations are taking place to change the future.